Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Erica and I am a homeschooling mom to 6 girls ranging in age from 13 all the way down to 1-year-old twins. And today I wanted to make a video about how I homeschool with so many babies and toddlers. Right now we have the 1-year-old twins and a 3-year-old. So we have 3 kids, 3 and under, which in itself is a lot. And to add homeschooling on it makes it challenging, but not impossible. And I just want to share a few tips that I have learned along the way. So, my tip number 1 for this is to simplify everything that you can and give your permission to do so. Give yourself the permission to do so. That means you don't have to do every single project in a curriculum, or if you I've just noticed that a lot of homeschoolers out here have this huge plethora of curriculum and things that they do. And if you're not in the season of life to do that, that's okay. Your kids will still do perfectly well and have a great education. So you don't have to have all the things all the time. For example, the first year of the twins' life, and even for a lot of my pregnancy, because it was so hard, we really did a lot of English and math, and our science and history were very unschooled. It doesn't mean we didn't do it at all. It just means we did not follow a structured curriculum. And it worked. My kids thrived. I would argue that they probably learned more history that year than they ever will, because that was the year that Hamilton came out. Or maybe it didn't come out that year, but that was the year that my children thought that Hamilton was like the coolest thing they had ever seen on TV. And we dove more into that and like what was different from the play versus what happened in reality, and dove deeper into certain, I wanted to say characters. They're not characters because they're historical figures. But they read a lot of Who Was books based on those historical figures, and they dove deeper into their lives, and it was just a really good history year. And again, no formal curriculum at all. I couldn't have done it if I wanted to, and it's okay, because my kids learned a lot, and they learned a lot of things that they were interested in, which means they're going to retain it for a lot longer than if I had sat there with a curriculum. So simplify as much as possible. That is the number 1 thing that I would say to do. Simplify. The second thing that I'm going to say is take breaks. Take a lot of breaks. Schedule breaks throughout the day, throughout the year, all over the place. Take a lot of breaks, because it gives you that time to, again, give yourself, because a lot of this season of having really small children is all about giving yourself the permission and the grace to not have to do everything and not even feel guilty about it, because you gave yourself the permission and you scheduled it. And if you schedule the break, it feels more intentional and not like you're letting anything down or letting anything go or falling behind, because you scheduled it out. So, for example, in our homeschooling year this year, we are doing 4 days off with wouldn't that be nice? 4 days of school on, with 1 day, with 1 flex day, and then the weekend off. And what I mean by that is we have scheduled 4 days to do school. And if anything falls behind or lacks, or we just wanted to do a little bit more, we do it on Friday, which is totally fine. So on Friday, we cover anything that we missed throughout the week, but we also do the things that are the extras that I don't get to do all the time, because I have so many toddlers and babies that take a lot of that energy and that time throughout the day. And now I can schedule that in, that play time and that enrichment time, to be in the Friday that we typically would do school if we don't have a bunch of stuff that we need to make up that day. For example, any crafts, even crafts that go along with the curriculum, we'll do that day. If we have a movie that we want to see that goes along with our schooling, we watch it that day. Projects, science science experiments, things of that nature. All of that happens on Friday if we have time after making up the things that we didn't accomplish during the week. And that flex day gives me so much peace. Or we take it off. And that's okay too, because that's what it's there for. The other thing I do is throughout the year, we only do 4 weeks of school at a time. And then we take at least 1 week off. During Christmas, we take 2 weeks, and then during the summer, we usually take quite a few weeks. It kind of depends on what year and what's going on with my kids, how that works. But we do 4 weeks on, and then we take a complete rest week where we do not do any school. With the exception, I will say that now that I have an 8th grader who is accomplishing 9th grade credits, we take it off, but she uses it as like her study time. And I have used that as time to practice certain skills with my with my younger ones as well. So for example, my 3rd grader is learning multiplication right now, and so we just practice that during that time, and we give it extra attention. And it's really not that long, 20 minutes a day on the off week. That's fine. We still keep up with our reading, but we read on weekends and all of that. My children do, because it's how they get on their electronics. So that was my long-winded way to say take a lot of breaks. The third tip that I have that might be a little unusual is to do school sprints. Now, I've never heard anybody else say this, but it has worked tremendously in our home, and it makes me feel so good and accomplished, and it makes my kids feel like we aren't dragging school along. There is something to taking school slow, but when you need to, hit the books and hit them running. Like, it's okay to take that too. So we do school sprints. We do 1 to 2 school sprints a day. And that is where I, mom, dedicate 1 hour-ish specifically to school. I don't do anything else. This happens before the babies wake up. And this is going to be different for everybody. I think this used to be, the first hour used to be during the twins' morning nap. And it wasn't quite an hour long. It was like 45 minutes long. But that's okay. Still a sprint. Still a school sprint. And I would sit down and we would be at the table and we'd like work as fast as we could on the things that needed to be done. So that first part is my independent work with my kids. Specifically with my 3rd and my 4th grader, that's when I sit down and really like hit the ground running. They have to be doing things. We're not messing around. We're not getting up for water and a drink. Like, they know when we sit down, it's go time. You should have already done all that before we sat down. And then we have a second school sprint throughout the day, and that is right after I lay my twins down for a nap. When I lay the twins down for the nap, my girls know that if they needed to get anything done before sitting down, that they need to be doing that as I'm putting them to sleep. I also watch my nephew, so this is a process. It takes me 30 minutes or so to get them to go to bed, in bed, sound asleep, and downstairs to work with them. So for 30 minutes, they know that they have to do whatever necessary so that they can sit down and work. Again, no bathroom, no water. Like, this is a drill sergeant thing, a sprint. It's a sprint. We're not getting up and lollygagging. And that is where I either do science or history. We rotate those 2 things back and forth. And we work extra hard. I would like to do videos about my school sprints, and I hope you guys are interested, because it has helped me so much to have this new mindset and mentality. But for example, with the Apologia Astronomy, the curriculum has you do this extremely slow, in my opinion. It has it designed to where it takes 1 lesson or 1 chapter of the book over 2 weeks, which is great if you're trying to have a slow pace school. But with babies and toddlers, I just don't know how that's possible. I don't know how you can devote so much time all the time to anything, really. Like, I have very small bits of time in my day that I need to get a lot accomplished. And so what we do is we read half a chapter, or these are called lessons, but I feel like they should be called chapters. We do half a lesson at a time. And I want to show you how I do that, but we read half a lesson at a time and either do a video or an activity with that on that day. And it takes us less than an hour. It really doesn't take an hour long. I have never timed it. I probably should. But it really takes us less than an hour. This is where I also grade any independent work. So that's where the whole hour comes in. And somewhere between the first school sprint and the second school sprint is when they do their independent work. And they can come to me, obviously, and ask me a question, but I just don't have the time and the attention to sit there and work something completely out with them, a new total concept or anything like that, when my young babies and toddlers are awake, when they're awake. So that is when they do their independent work. They also have each other, so they can use each other a lot, like with flashcards and quizzing. That's what they do during their independent work. And then after we do our science or history and I'm checking independent work, if there was a question that took longer if they needed more help and took longer to explain the process, then that's when I will sit down and work with those questions that were a little bit more than just, you didn't read the instructions right, or like, that book's upstairs kind of questions, where it's pretty fast. So that's how we work. And for our family, it works wonderful. And I don't feel like we're missing anything. My kids retain a lot more than I give them credit for, I guess, even though we are getting a lot of information at once. It can be like chugging water rather than just sipping on it. But with my children and the way that they work, they get bored if we spend too much time on one thing and if it's too slow. So that's how we do that. I would like to share with you how we do school sprints with every curriculum. I might dedicate a whole video to school sprints because I just think it's that important and that valuable for a family like ours. And we cannot be the only ones. There's no way. So I would like to do a dedicated video to school sprints and maybe explain it a little bit more in depth. But for now, that's what I have for you. My 3 top tips for homeschooling with toddlers and babies. I hope you guys found it helpful and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.